What is going on YouTube? And welcome back to my channel, JoJo Speaks. Thank y'all so much for joining me for this video for Hell's Kitchen. This is my review for season 23, episode 14. Now this is the episode before the finale. And I was so happy with this episode. I really was. So we started out with a challenge. It was a tableside challenge. So Chef Ramsay had executive chefs from restaurants in the area where the winner will be executive or head chef at Gordon Ramsay's restaurant, and there were five of these executive chefs along with their staff who were there, and so each of the four finalists, Whitney, Hannah, Kyle, and Egypt, they all made one dish. I believe that they had 30 minutes to make the dish in front of the people, um, and I thought it went great. Kyle was the I fully expected him to win. He had great rapport with the people. He has the best personality of all the chefs that are left. And so I knew that he was going to ace this particular challenge. Egypt, this was the first time Egypt did a tableside. So he wasn't sure how to, how to divvy out his time as far as talking and cooking. And, in one of the rounds, he almost didn't have enough time to be able to plate his food because he was talking so much to the people. But I thought he did pretty great. I thought that he answered the questions of the guests pretty well. So I was happy with that. Whitney did pretty good as well. Hannah, she tried to do the flambe, with the fire, going up in the skillet, but unfortunately her lighter was giving her a little trouble. I was like, oh, but she was able to get the fire from the eye of the little stovetop thing that they had there at the table side, and I thought it was great. But I was not surprised whatsoever that Kyle ended up winning that challenge, and he was able to take Whitney on his reward with him, and he said he was going to repay the favor that Whitney gave to him last week when she won the challenge, and she took Kyle with her to her win, and so. Kyle was able to take Whitney on his reward, and I thought that was great. And so it left Egypt and Hannah with just cleaning up the kitchens and whatnot, and it is what it is. And so we get to the final, not the final, but the final service before our finale is going on, and so. In this challenge, each and every one of the chefs were able to run the pass. And we all know in these challenges, Chef Ramsay will do some type of sabotage to see if the chefs will be able to pick up on what's going on. And so we start out with Egypt. And this is the preview that I saw in the previous episode where I saw that Whitney was cooking the risotto, and Egypt was asking for the risotto, and Whitney said, "You'll get it when I'm done." You know what I'm saying? And so I thought that was going to be sort of kind of like the feel of the entire episode, but thankfully, Whitney just did not want to put out the risotto before it was done. And so I completely understand that. I was giving her a little bit of a side eye when I saw that in the preview last week, but I understand why she said what she said. But Egypt did great. He was able to spot two out of the three sabotages. And I was a little disappointed that he didn't get all three, but hey, it is okay. It is completely fine. And so then we had Hannah, I believe, and Hannah did great at the pads. Egypt was very vocal. Egypt is a head chef, and so he's used to being able to run the pads. His time at the pads went very smoothly, and I was extremely happy about that. Egypt did not seem to have really any mistakes, with the exception of I think one of his New York steaks was a little under, but he was able to rectify that situation. So I was very happy with the way that Egypt performed in this particular episode. Hannah did great as well. I believe Hannah was able to spot two out of the three sabotagers as well. Hannah was very vigilant. Hannah was more vocal than I've ever heard her throughout this entire season. To me, Hannah has been the more one of the more quieter chefs of the chefs that are left. And I don't know if I necessarily see her as a head chef per se. But this challenge allowed me to see what she's capable of, and I think that she would be able to do good at being a head chef, and so I support Hannah. She did pretty good. Kyle was next up, and I believe Kyle was able to spot. I think it was just two sabotages that Kyle was given. And he was able to spot both of them, and I think Kyle did great. And this is where Kyle. I would say Kyle sort of kind of thrives in the leadership position. when he talks very loud and he talks very demanding. And do think that, that is what you need as a head chef. And also I will have to say that, you know, before the chefs run the pass, Chef Ramsay always takes them to the back and tells them to tell him off. And I have to admit that I kind of fast forward through that, because when it's like, when it's not genuine, when it's fake, and when there's not a real situation that you're reacting to, it's kind of awkward to see the chefs try to think of something to say, and you know, it's just secondhand embarrassment for me, and I really don't want to watch that, but apparently the chefs did okay with telling off Chef Ramsay. I really don't know exactly how they did with that, but as I was stating, Kyle did pretty good. I'm sorry, I'm scratching my head so much. My head is itching, honey. But anyways, Kyle did pretty good at the pass. Whitney did pretty good at the pass as well. I believe that she was able to catch all of her sabotages also. And so, therefore, after the dinner service was over, Chef Ramsay said, you know, this is going to be a very hard decision. He didn't even ask for any of them to put anyone up for elimination, which I guess makes sense once we get to the actual elimination itself, is that, you know, Chef Ramsay was going to make this decision on his own. And I completely respect that. And I appreciate the fact that he did not leave it up to the chefs to put someone up for elimination. And chefs just took all that responsibility on for himself. And I really do appreciate that. Now, while the chefs were waiting for Chef Ramsay to make his decision, Whitney was in her bag, and I think Whitney saw what was coming. I think Whitney looked at her competition and saw that maybe they had more of what it took to be Chef Ramsay's head chef as opposed to her. To be honest, Whitney has been one of the better chefs of the show. To be honest, I would feel like she's probably the second best chef under Egypt. You know, y'all know I already feel like Egypt is my favorite, and I do think that Egypt is the best chef that is left in the competition. But Whitney has a temper and an ego, a big ego, and I think Chef Ramsay has been catching a glimpse of this ego this entire time that they have been here for this particular season of the competition, and I don't think that Chef Ramsay necessarily appreciates that. I was surprised that he didn't bring that up in his reasoning. Because you know, as you all know, Whitney ended up going home. I'm surprised that he didn't bring up her ego in his decision for sending her home. However, I was not surprised that Whitney was telling everyone, you know, I put my heart and soul out there every single time, and you know, she was saying that she's the best chef that is left in the competition, and I'm glad that she didn't really get too much pushback. I'm glad Kyle was like, "Girl, I want to be like you. I want to be as confident as you are," and so. But I really do think that Whitney saw the writings on the wall. So we get to the elimination. All the chefs let Chef Ramsay know why it is that they deserve to be in the final three. Um, so when they go to revealing the final three, y'all know I'm got my fingers crossed, my eyes crossed, my toes crossed. I am hoping that Egypt is going to be in this final three. And lo and behold, the first chef that Chef Ramsay announces as being in the final three is Chef Egypt. And I was screaming. I was so happy, y'all. I was so happy that Chef chose Egypt to be in the final three. I really do hope that I really do think I really now seeing what Egypt's competition is and seeing the challenges that they do leading up to the final dinner service to decide who's going to be the winner of Hell's Kitchen season 23. I really do see Egypt coming out on top. I really do. It's not that I doubt that Kyle and Hannah will be able to cook up to Chef Ramsay's standards and be able to beat Egypt, but I really do think that Egypt has the best chance of winning at this point. And I think that Egypt would have the best story of winning, because as we all know, a couple of weeks ago, Egypt was going to leave the competition because he felt like the blue team did not like him. He felt like the blue team was continuously putting him up for elimination. I believe that he was put up twice in a row. I believe for the first two services, and Chef Ramsay was able to talk him down and get him to stay. And if Egypt have left, like, I don't even know if I would be watching the rest of the season, to be honest. But, I'm so happy that Egypt is in this final three. The next name that Chef Ramsay called was Hannah. Hannah was very, very thankful. And we were left with Kyle and Whitney. And to be honest, I honestly fully expected for Whitney to make it to the finals. I was very surprised that Whitney didn't go to the final, but I have a feeling that Chef Ramsay saw the tape of Whitney talking to the other chefs during his deliberations. I feel like the producers might have been in his ear as well, letting him know of Whitney's true personality. And once again, that's not necessarily a bad thing in certain situations. I just think that in this particular situation, in this particular competition, dealing with Chef Ramsay, I've never known Chef Ramsay to appreciate someone who has a big ego, and Whitney definitely has that big ego. And so, when it's down to Kyle and Whitney, which I was very surprised. I was honestly surprised that Egypt was the first chef that Chef Ramsay announced. But I do think that this was something, that was, put together by the producers. I think Egypt picked who he wanted to be in the final three, but I feel like the producers kind of chose the order in which Chef Ramsay was going to announce the final three. And so again, Kyle is the third and final chef that Chef Ramsay chooses for the finals. And Whitney is pissed, y'all. Whitney is not happy. And I fully expected this to happen. I knew that Whitney was not going to be happy whenever it was that she got eliminated, because that's just Whitney's personality. Whitney is a go-getter. Whitney wants to win. She wants nothing less. She was going to be upset no matter what time that she lost, because I would not have expected for Whitney to end up winning this competition. But Whitney is respectful. She shakes Chef Ramsay's hand. She doesn't really say much at all. I really thought that she was going to blow up. I really did expect for her to blow up. I wasn't sure she was going to cuss Chef Ramsay out. I did not know what to expect. But she shakes Gordon Ramsay's hand. She says nothing to Gordon Ramsay, and on her way out the door, Chef turns around and says, "A thank you would be nice." And I've never seen Chef Ramsay do that. And I think this was sort of kind of Chef Ramsay's validation for making the decision that he made. He's like, yeah, that's the reason why I sent you home, because I don't think that Whitney is appreciative of the opportunity that Chef Ramsay offered her. I think Whitney just sees this as another thing that she's going to do to get further into her career. And I think that the other three chefs that are left, Egypt, Hannah, and Kyle, are more appreciative of this opportunity as opposed to Whitney, who just wants to be there to further her career, which is respectable for anyone who wants to do that. But this is not the competition for that type of mindset. So I'm so happy that Egypt is in the finals. Of course, they have a final challenge where all three chefs, I believe, they make 3 to 5 dishes for guest judges, and whomever are the top two chefs who get points in that competition, they'll make it to the final dinner service, and then in the final dinner service, the two final chefs will pick previous chefs who have been eliminated to be a part of their brigade. I don't know how Whitney is going to be in that final cook. I don't know if she's even going to show up. To be honest, I don't expect to see her in the final dinner service, to be honest. And I hope that she's not in the final dinner service, because I don't think that she's going to do her best to make sure that the chef that she's working for is going to pull out the win, especially if it's Egypt, because I really don't see Whitney respecting Egypt and what he does. I feel like Whitney is a little jealous of Egypt, because Egypt has gotten quite a bit of props from Chef Ramsay. Egypt has pulled out the win for his team in challenges 2 times as having the best dish, and I think Whitney sees a lot of herself in Egypt, and so I think there's a little bit of animosity between Whitney and Egypt in that respect. But once again, I'm rooting for Egypt. I hope Egypt wins this whole enchilada. And I will be happy regardless of what happens, but I will be happiest if Egypt it ends up winning. Let me know, you guys, what you guys thoughts are on the final three. Do you respect and agree with Chef Ramsay's decision to eliminate Whitney? Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel, press that like button, leave a comment, press the notification bell, and also just share JoJo Speaks with all your family, friends, and loved ones. Let everybody out here know that JoJo Speaks is in these YouTube streets. See you guys on the next video. Take care, you guys.